I never thought I'd be the guy telling this story, but here we are. My wife Sarah was cheating on me with my best friend Mike for 2 whole years, and when I finally exposed them both at our anniversary party, the look on their faces was absolutely priceless. What I'm about to tell you will show you exactly why patience and planning beats emotional outbursts every single time. This isn't just about revenge. It's about maintaining your dignity and making sure the truth comes out in a way that can't be denied or twisted. By the end of this story, you'll understand why sometimes the best move is to stay quiet, gather your evidence, and strike when they least expect it. Before I dive into this insane story of betrayal and the most satisfying revenge you'll ever hear, make sure you hit that subscribe button and smash that like button right now. This helps the YouTube algorithm know you want more real stories like this one. And trust me, I've got plenty more jaw-dropping tales where this came from. The engagement from you guys is what keeps me motivated to share these personal experiences that I know will help others going through similar situations. Also, drop a comment below and let me know, have you ever been cheated on? Or do you know someone who went through this kind of betrayal? I read every single comment and respond to as many as I can because your stories and support mean everything to me. Let me start from the very beginning so you can understand just how deep and calculated this betrayal really was. Sarah and I have been married for 5 beautiful years, together for 8 total, and I genuinely believed we had the kind of love story people write movies about. We met in college during our junior year, and from the moment I saw her laughing with her friends at that campus coffee shop, I knew she was going to be my wife. Mike had been my best friend since high school. We were practically brothers, the kind of friendship where we'd take bullets for each other without question. The three of us became this inseparable trio, going on double dates, taking vacations together, spending every major holiday as one big happy family, and I trusted both of them with my life. The first signs that something was seriously wrong started creeping in about 2 years ago, but I was so blinded by love and trust that I completely missed all the red flags. Sarah began working late more frequently, always claiming urgent projects and deadlines, but these late nights always seemed to fall on the exact same evenings when Mike would mysteriously become too busy for our usual weekly hangout. She'd come home around 10 or 11 p.m. looking flustered and different somehow. Not just tired from work, but like she'd been living a completely different life for those missing hours. Her entire demeanor would change when she walked through that door, guilty, distant, like she was carrying some heavy secret that was eating her alive from the inside. The woman who used to tell me every detail of her day suddenly became evasive about the simplest questions like, "How was work?" or "What did you have for lunch?" I remember the exact moment when my gut first screamed that something was terribly wrong, and it happened at what should have been a fun, innocent gathering. We were at Mike's annual summer barbecue, something we'd been doing for years, surrounded by all our mutual friends and having what appeared to be a great time. I was coming back from the bathroom when I caught Sarah and Mike standing by his back fence, completely absorbed in what looked like an intensely intimate conversation. They weren't just talking. They were standing closer than friends should, their body language screaming intimacy. And when Sarah reached out and briefly touched his arm while laughing at something he said, I felt this cold chill run down my spine. The moment they saw me approaching, both of them jumped apart like they'd been electrocuted, and the guilty expressions on their faces were so obvious that even a blind man could have seen it. But here's why I made the smartest decision of my entire life instead of doing what every other betrayed husband does. Instead of marching over there and demanding answers, instead of confronting them with my suspicions and probably getting fed a bunch of lies, I decided to be strategic about the whole situation. I'd watched too many of my friends get completely destroyed by cheating spouses who were prepared with elaborate stories and emotional manipulations designed to make the betrayed partner feel crazy and paranoid. If Sarah really was having an affair with my best friend, I needed concrete, undeniable proof, not just gut feelings and suspicious behavior that could be explained away with a few tears and some convincing lies. So I made a conscious decision to become a detective in my own marriage, to start paying real attention to every detail, every inconsistency, every moment that didn't add up.
The evidence started accumulating faster than I ever imagined possible once I opened my eyes and began actively looking for the truth. Sarah's emergency work meetings that required her to stay late always perfectly coincided with Mike being mysteriously unavailable for our usual Tuesday night basketball games or Thursday evening dinners. I started secretly checking our joint credit card statements every week, and what I found made my blood run cold. Charges at upscale restaurants and boutique hotels on days when Sarah claimed to be stuck in boring office meetings or working overtime on client presentations. The dollar amounts were always enough for two people, always at romantic locations that Sarah and I had never visited together, always during time periods when she was supposedly too busy with work to spend quality time with her own husband. These weren't random purchases or business expenses. They formed a clear pattern of someone living a double life with my money. The next step in my investigation was technology, and what I discovered through our shared devices absolutely shattered any remaining hope I had for our marriage. I installed a GPS tracking app on the iPad that Sarah sometimes carried to important client meetings, and the location data revealed a devastating truth that confirmed my worst fears. Instead of being at her office building downtown, she was spending 3 to 4 hours at a time at Mike's apartment complex, usually arriving around 2 p.m. and leaving around 6 p.m. on the same days she told me she'd be working late. The GPS coordinates were exact, showing her phone stationary in his building for hours while she was supposedly in back-to-back meetings across town. I have screenshots of everything, timestamps, locations, duration of visits, creating an undeniable digital trail of her systematic deception and betrayal. This is the point where most men would have completely lost their minds and done something stupid that would have destroyed their own credibility. The urge to kick down Mike's door or confront Sarah with screenshots and accusations was almost overwhelming, especially knowing that while I was working 60-hour weeks to pay for our lifestyle, my wife was using our money to fund her affair with my supposed best friend. But I forced myself to think long-term, to consider what outcome I really wanted from this nightmare situation. I didn't just want one moment of angry satisfaction that would give them time to regroup and create new lies. I wanted complete, total, undeniable evidence that would destroy any possibility of them gaslighting me or turning this around to make me look like the bad guy. So I did something that required more self-control than I ever knew I possessed. I decided to hire professionals to get me proof that would hold up in court and in the court of public opinion. I hired the best private investigator in the city, and spending $5,000 on surveillance was the smartest investment I've ever made in my entire life. This guy was a former police detective who specialized in adultery cases, and he understood exactly what kind of evidence would be legally admissible and personally devastating. Within just 2 weeks, he had compiled a comprehensive portfolio that read like a novel about betrayal. High-resolution photographs of them holding hands and kissing outside restaurants, security camera footage of them entering hotels together, credit card receipts showing a pattern of romantic dinners and weekend getaways funded by our joint accounts. But the most damning evidence was the audio recordings he managed to capture of them actually discussing me, laughing about how completely clueless I was, making jokes about my work schedule, and how easy it was to fool me because I trusted them both so completely. The psychological torture of the next 6 weeks was almost unbearable, but it was absolutely necessary for my plan to work perfectly. Every single morning, Sarah would kiss me goodbye with those same lying lips that had been kissing my best friend for 2 years, telling me she loved me and reminding me about dinner plans or weekend activities we had scheduled together. Mike would still come over for Sunday football games, bringing beer and snacks, slapping me on the back and calling me brother, while secretly counting down the hours until his next rendezvous with my wife. I had to smile, laugh at his jokes, ask about his fake work projects, and act like the devoted husband and loyal friend, while inside I was methodically planning the complete destruction of both their reputations and futures.
During those 6 weeks of psychological warfare against myself, I quietly and systematically prepared for my new life without them. I moved all my important documents, family heirlooms, and sentimental items to a secure storage unit across town, doing it gradually so Sarah wouldn't notice anything missing from our house. I researched divorce attorneys and scheduled consultations, ultimately choosing a fierce female lawyer who specialized in infidelity cases and had a reputation for absolutely destroying cheating spouses in court. I transferred exactly half of our joint savings account to a new personal account at a different bank, completely legal since it was marital property, but strategically smart since I knew Sarah would try to drain our accounts once the truth came out. Most importantly, I found a beautiful one-bedroom apartment downtown and put down the deposit, giving myself a clean, fresh space to start my new life away from all the lies and betrayal. The perfect opportunity for my grand revelation presented itself when Sarah suggested we throw a big anniversary party to celebrate 5 years of what she called our perfect marriage. She wanted to invite everyone who mattered to us, both sets of parents, all our siblings, our college friends, work colleagues, and of course, Mike and his current girlfriend, who had no idea her boyfriend was cheating on her with his best friend's wife. Sarah was so excited about planning this party, talking about how wonderful it would be to have everyone we loved gathered together to celebrate our commitment and happiness. I agreed enthusiastically, and even offered to handle all the technical aspects, the music, the slideshow presentation, the audio-visual setup, while she focused on food and decorations, having no idea that I was planning the most epic public exposure in the history of anniversary parties. The night before our 5th wedding anniversary party, I was lying in bed next to my cheating wife, staring at the ceiling while she slept peacefully beside me, probably dreaming about her secret life with Mike. On my nightstand sat a thick folder containing 2 years' worth of evidence, hundreds of photographs, hours of audio recordings, bank statements, hotel receipts, GPS tracking data, and witness testimonials that painted a complete picture of systematic betrayal and deception. Sarah looked so innocent lying there in the dark, her wedding ring catching the moonlight, completely unaware that tomorrow night would be the last time she ever slept in our bed. If she had any idea what I had planned for the next evening, she would have run away and never looked back. But her arrogance and confidence in her ability to deceive me had made her completely blind to the trap I had been setting for weeks. I barely slept that night, not because I was nervous about what I was going to do, but because I was so excited about finally getting justice for 2 years of humiliation and lies. I had rehearsed every moment of my presentation, loaded all the evidence onto multiple backup drives, and prepared responses for every possible reaction or excuse they might try to use. Tomorrow evening, in front of 40 people, including both our parents, our closest friends, and several colleagues who knew all 3 of us professionally, I was going to systematically destroy the false narrative that Sarah and Mike had been living for 2 years. The slideshow I had prepared was titled Sarah and Mike's Real Love Story, and contained enough evidence to end both their careers, destroy their reputations, and ensure that everyone who mattered would know exactly what kind of people they really were underneath their charming facades. The anniversary party started exactly as I had hoped it would, with everyone in high spirits and Sarah absolutely glowing with happiness at being the center of attention. She looked stunning in the emerald green dress I had bought her for our first anniversary, the same dress she wore to that romantic dinner where she promised to love me forever, and the cruel irony of that symbolism wasn't lost on me for a single second. Mike arrived fashionably late with an expensive bottle of champagne and immediately launched into his prepared toast about friendship, loyalty, and the sacred bonds that tie us together, speaking eloquently about trust and commitment while looking directly at me with those lying eyes. Our parents were taking pictures, our friends were mingling and laughing, and everyone kept commenting on what a perfect couple Sarah and I were, and how lucky we both were to have found true love in a world full of divorce and betrayal. About an hour into the party, when everyone was relaxed and happy from good food and wine, I stood up with my glass and announced that I had prepared a very special surprise for everyone, especially for my beloved wife and dear friend Mike.
Sarah's face lit up with pure joy and anticipation, probably expecting some romantic tribute to our marriage or perhaps an expensive gift that would make all the other wives jealous of her perfect husband. Mike was grinning and clapping along with everyone else, possibly thinking I was about to announce a promotion at work or some other good news that would make him look good by association. I asked everyone to gather around our large-screen TV because I had spent weeks preparing something truly unforgettable that would show everyone the real truth about the relationships that mattered most in our lives. "Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends," I announced with a huge smile, holding up the presentation remote while Sarah beamed beside me. "Tonight, I want to share with all of you the beautiful, passionate, and secret love story between my wife Sarah and my best friend Mike." The room went completely silent as people tried to process what I had just said, and I could see Sarah's smile start to falter as the emphasis on secret began to sink in. Mike's face went from pleased anticipation to absolute terror in about 3 seconds as he realized that somehow, impossibly, I knew about their affair. Before either of them could react to try to stop me, I clicked the remote and the first high-resolution photograph filled our 65-inch screen. Sarah and Mike in a passionate embrace outside his apartment building, her hands tangled in his hair, completely lost in each other just 3 days earlier while I was working late to pay for her lifestyle. The wine glass slipped from Sarah's hand and shattered on our hardwood floor, the sound echoing through the suddenly silent room like a gunshot. Mike actually tried to rush toward me to grab the remote, but my father-in-law, a retired Marine who stands 6'4" and weighs 250 pounds, caught his arm and held him in place with a grip that could crush bones. I calmly clicked to the next photo, them holding hands while walking into the Marriott downtown, the same hotel where Sarah and I had spent our honeymoon 5 years earlier. Then another click revealed Mike's hand firmly planted on Sarah's ass as they got into his car outside an expensive restaurant, both of them laughing and completely oblivious to the private investigator's camera capturing their betrayal in perfect detail. Each photograph was more damning than the last, showing two people who were clearly in love, clearly comfortable with their physical relationship, and clearly had been doing this for a very long time. Sarah started crying and screaming hysterically that I was sick and perverted for hiring someone to follow her, trying to make herself the victim in this situation. But I had prepared for exactly this reaction. I clicked the remote again, and suddenly the room filled with audio. A crystal-clear recording of Sarah and Mike discussing me in intimate detail while they were getting dressed after one of their hotel encounters. Her voice, unmistakably hers, giggling as she called me a pathetic workaholic who was so focused on providing for her that she never noticed she was getting her real needs met elsewhere. Mike's voice chimed in, joking about how easy it was to fool me because I trusted them both so completely, how they could probably do it on our kitchen counter and I'd find some way to rationalize it away. The audio continued for nearly 5 minutes, with both of them laughing about my sexual performance, my work habits, my trusting nature, and how simple it was to manipulate someone who loved them unconditionally.